of the students in her classroom after she took off her mask to read. This thing is dangerous, Talu.
Yes.
And one more thing, Taliban asking from Lifestyle to help with ISIS militants who plot an Afghanistan takeover. Mm-hmm. And one last thing, Trump emerged talking about one day. Remember when he said COVID would one day go away magically? Mm-hmm. And you have some people running around talking about he's smarter than Joe Biden.
Yes.
You know, so and Omar Baruta is here with us as well. And so, Omar, we've got a few things to talk about today.
Sir.
Right. Yeah, so start us off, Omar. Don't want me to go ahead with Talu and then come back to you.
Yeah.
Come on, Talu. Come on. Omar. Get lined up.
Winding up.
He's winding up. Yeah, I was looking. He was doing one of those. Yes, sir.
You know,
but go ahead, Tyler.
It's two things that are mystical to African American people. War is mystical, in that the only part that we can understand about war is the force part. Okay, and the force part is invasion and the killing, you know, the bloodletting, and these types of things. And the other thing that we are mystified by is disease. As a people, we tend to not want to recognize that there are things out here in this world and inside in this world, our bodies, that cause one to get sick.
Yeah.
And sometimes cause one to die if it's not properly treated. You know, technology, and we're living in a time of technology and science. We have to learn how to, or have to accept, pardon me, we have to accept the fact that there are people who have put their whole lives into examining things and looking into things and helping us as a human race.
Absolutely.
To survive when some kind of virus or illness come upon all of us. Okay, their purpose in life is to serve humanity like that. But if you are one of those people, like 50% of the American people are, who follow Donald Trump, you're going to absolutely have in your mind that all of these centuries and hundreds and thousands of years of human evolution and the knowledge from the wisest of the wise people all the way were actually starting in Africa. Our ancestor was wise enough to survive pandemics and epidemics, and was wise enough to put medicines together from the earth that helped us survive. And that's why Africa is one of the most efficient and proficient countries of people in the world, because they have thousands of years of this experience. That in America, of course, we only have a few years of experience dealing with, you know, viruses and bacteria. All of it is relatively new to us. But in Africa, it's thousands of years old. Okay, and they have survived many attempts of various diseases to conquer the human being and render them useless or dead.
Yes.
So this mystery that we are living with today with this COVID-19 is a mystery because we're so damn ignorant. You know, we're just and when I say ignorant, I'm talking about Africa, not only African Americans, I'm talking about Americans. Americans are the most ignorant people on the planet. All these other nations are thousands and thousands of years old. How old is America? That'll tell you right there in itself. It's a relatively young nation. So we're ignorant. So we act ignorant on serious things like war and like diseases and sicknesses. We act ignorant. As a public, we're actually in a state of denial on everything. We just don't want to believe that it exists, or that it, you know, that and the 2 points I brought up is war and disease. And then when it comes to war, we have no concept or idea at all, because we're never involved of actually what's happening, and we take our message from the news media. And if you don't get actively involved in disease and war and learn or be taught, you're just going to be ignorant. Ignorant is not a bad word. Ignorance simply is a lack of knowledge. That's all, just a lack of knowledge. Ignorance is not a name-calling thing like most of us think it is.
Yeah.
You know, a charge.
Yeah.
No, you just don't know.
And thank you, Talut. Those were some powerful words, Omar. And while we're on it, talking about disease and talking about survival of all these diseases, Omar, how shall we proceed? And while you're at it, say something about previous diseases like chickenpox, measles. I remember as a young boy growing up, I remember taking all of those shots of vaccines. So Talut said something very powerful. So what misinformation, disinformation, what has happened to people of this country that we're so ignorant, Omar? So it's a two-part question. What has happened, what's going on here with all of this insanity, taking cow medicine, horse medicine, all of that stuff, and listen to people like Donald Trump, the Republican Party, people who have no shame in their game will lie in a minute right in front of your face. They know they're lying. The general public knows they're lying. But yet, as Talut has said, they know it's the truth, but they are in denial, and they set this stuff up in their mind and continue to be in denial, and it's dangerous to the country. So are we moving to the end of humanity with this thing, Omar? How do we survive it? Take it away, Omar.
Let's go back to the first tidbit of Dr. Luke's comment.
Yes.
He mentioned the word war.
Yes.
And when you look at this war, Afghanistan, the question should be asked, why are we over there? What did we go there for? They said it was because the Taliban, Osama bin Laden, somebody in Afghanistan looked the World Trade Center. If you ask any structural engineer in the world, not just in Memphis, but in the world, they will tell you that there's no way an airplane can hit a 100-story building and bring it to the ground and make it crumble into dust. Jet fuel cannot disintegrate steel from the 17th floor down to the basement and make it crumble into dust. So we know that's a lie, but they told the American people the lie, and they drank it like it was Kool-Aid. They said that these people these so-called pilots they had them on record. They were trying to fly little small airplanes, but they flew a jumbo jet that day.
Yeah.
And they flew it in such a way that they could make it hit the Trade Center. That's what they said. And then later on they said, and farther down the road, that it was something to do with Iraq and the
Weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass destruction. So they pulled us into a war that's been going for 20 years, and they want us to remember what happened in September with the World Trade Center. But we shouldn't be there in the first place. But America is a savage nation, considered civilized, but savage in their civilization. bloody in their civilization. And anybody that has a resource, and they went to Iraq because Iraq has oil,
Yes.
and they wanted to control the oil in Iraq. And they got to fighting in Iraq, and they're still fighting today. In Afghanistan, they're still fighting today. The war will never end as long as America's imperialism and their white supremacy mindset is determined to take the world and control the world. So let's go with that piece first.
Okay, let's go with it.
Because if you go back to America, who they really are. Look, Donald Elijah Muhammad said, of all our studies, history is best able to reward our research. Well, if we look at America, research this country, look at what they did to the Indians, the so-called Indians, because they thought they found Indians when they came here. They didn't realize they were lost as hell and didn't know where the hell they were.
A mass lie.
You're gonna name the people here after who you think they should be, and then you expect them to accept the name. But again, look at what you did to the Indians. We talked about smallpox.
Yes.
There was a man named General Amherst that gave India smallpox after they surrendered. After you kill the braves, the soldiers in the Indian tribes, then the women and old men and children surrender, and you still give them death. That's who you are. So if you look at your own record, that's why you don't want your children to know your history, because they'll cry when they look at their own history of their fathers and forefathers. They will be ashamed to come out the door. So you got to look at who you are, America, and you should be ashamed. That's why you have black folk that will not take the vaccine, because they don't trust you. The Indians said they signed over 10,000 treaties with you, and you have broken every one of them. You have never kept your word on anything, and you're still doing that today. It was the Tuskegee experiment,
Right.
where these soldiers who fought brilliantly, valiantly for you during the war, when they get out of the Army, when they get out of the Air Force, then what you do is you don't give them an examination, make sure they're okay. You give them syphilis as an experiment. They don't even know they got syphilis. They spread it to their wives, their girlfriends, to their community, and they're dying from it, and you won't even let them get treated. I think it was under Bill Clinton, he had to ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
And give some kind of reparation to the families of those men, but not enough reparation for what you did to them. After they fought for this country, bled and died for this country, and you treat them like that. How can anybody touch you? Anybody that's why I don't want to go to, I would never go to the American military, ever. Because when I see how you did my people in the past, I ain't going to support nothing that you do when you go in an imperialistic nation to take somebody else's country. Whether it's Vietnam and North and South Vietnam became a result of Korea, whether North and South Korea became a result, I don't care when you step your foot down, I'm not going to shoot one bullet on your behalf because you shouldn't be there in the first place. But the black community has reason to not trust you. We need our own scientists, our own researchers to develop something we can use, that we know we can use because it's something we came up with. And if you go back to Mother Africa, like Dr. Luke was talking about, so much comes out of Africa. And we don't want to embrace Africa, we should embrace Africa. And most of these diseases that Wally was talking about, whooping cough and measles and chicken pox, those were white folks' disease. We never heard those things. They gave them to us. Smallpox, that's something they gave us. We never had that. And these diseases, that's what killed a lot of the people in this part of the world. When they came over, they brought those diseases with them. On Columbus' ship, on the ships they brought the slaves, they brought those diseases with them. We had never had those diseases before they came over here to step foot on this soil and on the soil of Mother Africa. We have to understand that we need to go back and search our own history. Know who we are, know who they are, and know how we can navigate through this world in spite of them.
Just to recount those ships, Omar, the Nina Pinta and Santa Maria, three of the most dangerous ships approaching this land with those particular diseases. And you mentioned the Indians, which is a ignorance, like Talud said, ignorant to be calling these people Indians.
Yes.
That they are natives to this land.
Yes.
And then you have people running around talking about the slave trade never happened. Running around talking about we are Indians. The most insane thing I've heard in my 73 years of being on the planet Earth. Pure, as the old folks used to say, P.O.D. insanity.
Yes.
Absolutely. Give us a call right here at 324-7490. Call us also at 901-452-3094 because we're about to get cranked up in here today.
All right.
Yes. Tyler, I want to come back to you
Okay.
and ask the question, how do we survive these times? Let me stretch it out a little bit, Tyler. We're talking about the virus, but how do we survive the virus and all of the other calamities in this country? And should we look across the world and see the emergence of all of these calamities, Tyler?
Yes.
Help us out right there.
We're gonna survive.
Okay, good.
See, the point is this: you can't have 1,000,000 years of genetic evolution and not survive. Some of us gonna survive now. I mean, ain't no question about that. The majority of us gonna survive. You know, they had the yellow fever. Memphis had the yellow fever.
Yes.
And the African American people survived
Yes,
it
they did.
and buried the Caucasian, then revived the child of the city.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna survive. But the point here is not only our survival, but our evolution upwardly from the despair and this despicable condition that another people placed us in.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Not of our choice.
Yes.
See, our choice is building pyramids and building huge constructions and these types of things in our motherland of Africa. That's what we would choose to do. We would choose to do. We would go ahead on and do the greatest things that human beings have ever done, like our ancestors did.
Yes.
Okay, but we caught up today. We caught up in, as Dr. Omar said, these imperialist plans and strategy to conquer the world. And in order for them to conquer the world, they have to dumb down people of color.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and that's a process. That's a long process. That's a process that runs into the hundreds of years. But these people are the kind of people with that patience.
Yes.
Patience. They will slowly walk us down if we allow them to.
Yes.
But what we should do is resist. Okay, just resist. See, even if some of us take the vaccine and some of us don't take the vaccine, it doesn't matter. Okay, and the point is, we're going to survive. Okay, we're going to survive as a people. Okay, some of us are going to be able to adapt to almost anything. We're almost the slavery that was imposed on us actually was a military expedition that caused us to be in forced labor for 300 years, really. Okay, it wasn't just like the books are revealed to us that some people one day just said, okay, we're going to go to Africa and kidnap some slaves and bring them back to America, and we're going to get not allow them to have any rights, human rights, and no kind of rights. We're going to own them. That is not the case. Okay, that is the imaginary world that we've been placed into to accept the fact that we were slaves. The truth is, there were wars. Our ancestors were captives. They were brought into this country for forced labor, just like the military do today when they capture the enemy. They put them in forced labor to do things, to build bridges, to build this, to clear the land, to do this, and don't pay them a dime unless they get reparation.
Correct.
Okay, that's what happened to our ancestors.
Yes.
They were captives of war. Those people did not just walk over, okay, I want you, and I want you, and y'all come along with me, and we're gonna go over here across the ocean, and y'all just gonna work. No. Look, the reason slavery ended, and I'm just gonna deal with this, but I'm working my way back around to the vaccine and other things.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm talking about war. the reason slavery ended was not because the President Lincoln signed an Emancipation Proclamation document and all those big word things. No, that is not why. What happened is, on the west coast of Africa, there were some warriors called Tijani. Okay, the Tijanis. They were the ones who fought a war that stopped the capture of Africans and having them brought back to America. They fought the war and defeated the French and captured the castles that they had built as holding stations for their people during that World War in Africa. Okay? So we got to rethink this thing. We got to use our imagination. If we are the people who, if our ancestors are the people who we teach that they were, kings and queens and all these types of things, do you know those people were warriors and fighters? They were not people just passive like we are today in America and just go along with anything. Those people were hard.
Yes, come on.
Okay? They lost certain battles in certain areas of Africa, and they were able to capture our ancestors and chain them and ship them into America to build an economic structure also. Okay, we are the economic structure of America. This is how America become the richest, the powerful, and all that kind of stuff they talk about this nation, is because of our ancestors. Our African, let me be more specific, African American people's ancestors is the reason why America is considered the richest, most powerful nation in the world.
Correct.
Not them, okay, not the Caucasian people, because if that was true, then other Caucasian nations would be rich and as powerful as America is. They would have something to go on.
Yes, sir.
These people in America had our people to go on.
Okay.
Our people, the African American people here in America today, are primarily in parts of the United States, the southern parts of the United States, where the first, well, not the first, but where the greatest importation of our ancestors landed. Now, so we had in the southern states the cruelest and most inhumane people over our ancestors here. And they virtually hated our ancestors. And therefore, they hate us today. Now, the point that they're doing, they're in control of the educational system. They're in control of the economic system, right here. The greatest races ever lived in the southern states. They're dumbing down our people. You all have to understand that.
Yes,
They're
sir.
constantly, one generation after the other is being dumbed down to the point where the last generation have no idea what the previous generation succeeded at, accomplished. You just don't know. And that's the ignorance that I'm talking about earlier. They just don't know. So we have to keep putting information out in the community. Keep pushing it. Keep pushing it. Sometimes it seems like it's not doing any good, especially to me. But the bottom line is, that's our heritage. That's what we have done from the beginning of time. Push information. Truth, the truth.
Thank you, Taluk.
Yes.
It is now 10:35. Give us a call right here at 901-324-7490, or give us a call at 452-3094. Omar, how do we survive as a people? How do we survive this impending pandemic? Some people call it a plandemic. You know, I hear people talking about it's a plan, and
Yes.
I never hear them discuss how the plan originated, who started the plan, and I never hear them discuss a solution to this pandemic. So Omar, is this the end of humanity? How do we survive as a people? and present ourselves as a model to the world, Omar? How do we survive it?
You know, one thing that we must do, because we don't know who we are, and Dr. Lou made a good point on that. We don't know who we are. If we knew who we were or are, we wouldn't be in the predicament in the first place. We don't want to be black. We don't want to be African Americans. We want to be them. And we'll never be them because we won't let us be them.
I got the plot.
Sad to say. So we're trying to do that one, okay? You might, what this, my brother, my cousin said, get in where you fit in. They ain't gonna let us get in because we don't fit in.
Yeah, that's it.
So we need to understand who we are. As black folk in this country, over 40 million strong, the economy of the black community is $1.3 trillion. If we took our money and bounced it around our community, we could end poverty tomorrow. In the morning, we could all be working. If we bounced our money around our community, we could build our own colleges and universities. We don't need them for anything. We have more money in the black community than they have in the whole country of Canada, and they outnumber us. So we don't need that. If we just did our money the way Jews do their money. We can have our own research science. If something comes up in the black community disease-wise, we got a research science team that can take care of it. And if you look at us, our DNA is stronger than anybody else on the planet. But what do we do to ourselves? We eat the white man's food. That's why they call it junk food. Because it's junk disguised as food. Maybe it tastes like food, but it ain't real food. It's junk that's disguised as food. That's why it should be Food and Drug Administration. Why the drug part? Because a lot of it has drugs in it. We shouldn't eat it in the first place. But again, we have to come together as a community and realize who we are. We're not going to do it. Realize who we are. We like ignorance. We love ignorance. We gravitate towards anything that's ignorant. And like Dr. Lewis said, you got to dumb down the people because you cannot control them if you don't dumb them down. And we stay dumbed down. We like to shake our booty and bump to some gangster rap music. We love that kind of stuff. We like to do all the dumb stuff that's going to keep us in the condition we're in, and it's only a few chosen ones that have refused to go back to sleep. We woke up and we just, the three of us, everybody in this building right here, including my brother over here on the control board, we refuse to go back to sleep, and everybody need to wake up and never go back to sleep because you got to know who you're dealing with because your children's future depend on you knowing and keeping them awoke. Let's go back. Let's do what we know we must do. Otherwise, now they're leaving. They've already said they're leaving. The demographers say that the population of the white people in this country and around the world, not just in this country, but around the world, is diminishing because their birth rate is diminishing. They're not producing enough children to replace themselves. Not just in this country, but all over the world. In some countries, they're paying women to have children.
Exactly, yes. Sweden. Yeah, Sweden.
All right, I think we've got a call, but give us a call. The numbers to call, 901-324-7490. Or you may call 901-452-3094. This is the Love Power Show. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. This is Pearl. How y'all doing?
Hey, Pearl, how are you? Doing good.
That's good. So, in regard to the birth rates declining, so it's on the part of the men, the sperm counts are low. It's not the women who can't produce the eggs, but the sperm counts are low. So I just wanted to say that it's on the side of the Caucasian men. And about the economic development and the money and supporting black businesses, and here's a question, anybody can comment. What if we promoted black-owned businesses, promoted supporting black-owned businesses to the degree that people in our community are promoting the vaccine?
Okay, good question.
What do you think it would look like?
Oh, it would be vastly different. It could, I won't say that it would turn this whole thing around, but it would be a catalyst to turning it around, Ms. Pearl. That would be my thought on that.
Because
in part.
There's a lot of, yeah. But there is, I mean, when you just think about the amount of energy that we are putting into promoting this vaccine, upholding the vaccine, encouraging encouraging others to take the vaccine, asking folks, have they taken it or not, that's a lot of energy. That's taking up a considerable portion of our consciousness. And I'm just wanting us to share another way of looking at this pro-vaccine piece for those who are pro-vaccine. Is really taking up a lot of time and energy and a lot of our consciousness with the amount of energy that we're putting into it.
Okay, before you go, we'd like for you to
I had something to share.
Okay, but the Alvin Motley case, want to hear something on that. But why do you think so many people are dying? And it's being reported that it is because of the virus. Why do you think that's taking place, Ms. Farrell?
So before I answer that, let me say that unlike the average person, well, not average, but most people in society, equal to the pro-vaccine information that I receive, I'm simultaneously receiving a lot of information, and it is scientifically based, that speaks differently to the positive effects of the vaccine. So it depends on how you break the numbers down, because if you break the numbers down according to pre-existing conditions, the diabetes, hypertension, being overweight, being in certain high-risk groups, then the numbers would automatically be interpreted differently. So, they said last year, it was earlier last year, and they were saying that, certain things, if you went in, if you got a certain thing, then they automatically put it down as being COVID-related. At some point, that narrative stopped circulating, and which makes me raise the question, why was that? Was it false, or was it just to push that other narrative? But for me, Pearl Walker, based on the information that I have been exposed to, for and against, the number one reason I would say is the pre-existing conditions. And then I've received stuff on the vaccine itself. Some information says that the vaccine promotes the spread of the virus, and so it just depends on whose data you're looking at, because some of the data it contradicts all of the status quo, most of the status quo data that's out there. And I know y'all understand what I mean when I say that.
I do. Well, one has to be correct and one has to be incorrect. Now, two incorrect things at the same time is a contradiction. So I think I hear you saying from the information that you are receiving is that people are not dying from the virus, they're dying from pre-existing conditions. I will say that...
I'm sorry. A weak immune system. Weak immune system.
Anyway, a weak immune system. And yes, there are a lot of people sick in this country, as Omar has said, because of our lifestyles and because of the food we eat. So now, perhaps there's someone who wants to control the population. Well, not someone, but many. And so therefore, in examining this situation, and the judge is supposed to be called us a little bit, and he has a background in biology. Yeah. And so I spoke with him yesterday, and I always like his commentary, period, especially.
He's on the line now.
Oh, very good, very good. Coming to you in just a little bit, Judge, about this virus and sicknesses. So my question still remains, how do we as a people survive this onslaught of problems with the virus impending upon us as a people. How do we survive? People are dying. And here's one thing that we do know. And I'll say this, that I know someone whom I love dearly, my grandchildren. And this did not have to happen. You know, sometimes people, they insist on having this party, that party, until they get sick. Well, hell, I told you. So now you're sick. Now you gotta go test Lil Hakeem. You gotta go test Caleb. Now you gotta quarantine. My motto is this: it's better to be safe than to be sorry. Pearl, give us an update on the Alvin Motley case. We've got Chris Walton here with us today, Dan Claiborne, Isaac Woodridge, Omar Baruta, and Talala Talut El Amin, and yours truly.
Wonderful. So, and I know the judge is waiting, and I would like to hear him comment on the Alvin Motley case in any context he chooses to. But so Thursday, the family was back along with Attorney Crump and two members of his legal team, and they viewed the tape. They viewed the tape first, and then they came to the church, and we had the memorial service, and then afterwards they went to the Kroger's, the site of the lynching, and they had a peaceful rally around the corner. It was, I'll send y'all the picture. It was about 15 or 20 MPD cars parked and lined up. I guess they were wanting to be on guard if something popped out, but it was a nice gathering, and some of the family members spoke, and so that was good. But going back to the memorial service, so Ben Crump said that he had spoken with Martin III and Al Sharpton, and if the videotape was a release, that they would be glad to come to Memphis and lead a march for us. So that's where we're at now, the videotape. It must be released. Now, my sources, and anybody can research this, they can check with the mayor's office. I was told that the tape is really bad, that it's going to go national, it's going to go viral. I was told that Strickland requested a few days before the tape is released so they can get ready for civil arrest. Like I say, please, if you don't want to believe, I don't have a problem with that, check your own sources. And then the bullet, he was smoking a cigarette, and he had a can of beer in the other hand, and the bullet went straight through his hand into his chest. And the video shows people coming, the security guard coming to the car 2 or 3 times saying something, and then he got out again, and then that's when the shooting occurred. Once after he was shot and the body fell to the ground, he wouldn't let the girlfriend or any of the onlookers come over to see about him. So he and this just laid.
You talking about the security guard?
No, the security guard after he shot Alvin.
The security guard wouldn't let
the girlfriend come over to the body. She was trying to come around from the side of the car. So he wouldn't let the girlfriend or any of the onlookers come over to his aid.
I understand. So here's my question. Who the hell does he think he is?
Exactly.
Who does he think he is? See, that's the white man. That's
genetic mutation.
Genetic mutation. Yeah, I'm inclined to go along with that. But anyway, Pearl, as we proceed in terms of strategies and tactics and approaches and all of that stuff, we must pay close attention to what's the attorney's name, Chris? Ballin. Let's pay close attention to this stuff, because I'm told that this guy, Omar, says he doesn't do anything free, and I'm told that he takes anybody's money. So let's pay close attention to this particular approach, the way he's going to, they are going to deal with this particular case. Let's pay close attention to that, and let's be ready to put pressure on Kroger and put pressure on whomever pressure needs to be placed upon. And we thank you, Ms. Pearl.
And one more thing, quickly.
Please,
So as
please
far
do.
as the pressure goes, it's not enough for Kroger to release the contract with Allied. And Allied is a national company that's been going around buying up a lot of smaller security companies. So like Tammy Sawyer said at the memorial service, it's not enough for Kroger to release Allied. Kroger, in lieu of this incident, Kroger needs to put some stores back into these food deserts around Memphis. And as far as Dallin is concerned, the tape right now is at the discretion of Judge Montesi. He's term limited out next year. I've been told he is and is not running for re-election, but we need to keep an eye on him as well. Amy, by Amy, hashtag by Amy, does want the tape released, but she just wants it released because she's just going to use it to further her agenda to be re-elected. But once again, right now, it's under Judge Montesi.
I understand. Anytime you don't want something released, we need time, we need this, and we need that, you have something to hide. And give me a call, Pearl, a little later this evening. I have some things I want to talk to you about.
Okay, sounds wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Have a good one. And let us go now to, but give us a call and tell us what you think. 901-324-7490. Or call the other number, 901-452-3094. Let's go now to Judge Joe Brown.
Well, good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
All right.
How do we survive this virus, Judge? How do we survive?
Well, be careful.
Very good.
Say this.
Yeah.
Possible some of this came out of lab. Okay, possible. Likely? No. Mother Nature does a damn good job with mutations of creating some real monsters. About 110, 12 years ago, there were millions of Cape buffalo and bogo in Southern Africa.
Mm-hmm.
They make damn good beef. And they're rather bad boys because they're the hardest terrestrial animal to kill. There were millions. They had something called the rinderpest disease that hit them, and herds of 10, 20,000 got wiped out down to 3, 4, and 5 animals.
Mm-hmm.
They recovered over the last century, but the problem is so many of them died off that they lost genetic diversity, and even though the herds are back up again, it's not really a matter of herd immunity because there's so little genetic diversity that they might not survive another situation. So there have been moments where species have gone or almost gone extinct or been prepared for extinction because of disease. One of the problems that we have is over the last 50, 55 years that this has been predicted, we have chosen to spend more on NFL basketball on some of the top 4 or 5 players on each team than we have on research to go deal with such possible epidemics. And that's our fault because we don't have the value system. Our schools have been just chopped off at the knees because from 50, 55 years ago, too many people have been trying to spread this LGBTQ cult poison and get people to buy into fluid gender stuff that requires false science. That is not even mainstream science to accept. So in order to get that accepted, they had to destroy and basically debase medicine and modern medical science. That is a problem we have, and they don't teach things that they used to. I can remember stuff that I got in the 5th grade and in the 11th grade and several times in college that might give people an explanation for what's going on, but it's not widespread anymore. So that being the case, sometimes you have to look back on human nature and what the ancestors put up with. And all over the world, humans have had to deal with epidemics, plagues.
Yeah.
And there were plagues like the bubonic plague, the dark plague. It hit Africa, it hit the Middle East, it hit Europe, it hit Asia, everywhere. And sometimes that would have more than a third of all humans dying as a result. If you do a genetic analysis of modern humans now, you found that at one point there was a bottleneck when there were less than maybe 2,000 breeding couples of all humanity everywhere in the world. So we have had some hard times. We've gotten past them. But we need to understand that we maybe need to have a little bit more focus, and everything is not nice and safe and do what you want to do. Sometimes you have to do what you need to do and what you ought to do. But you see, we don't like to hear that. It's all I want and I'm entitled and I should get and I deserve. No, you deserve nothing, because Mother Nature is cold-blooded. And if you want to find out how cold-blooded it is, ask yourself if you've had a hamburger or a steak, a piece of fish or something in the last few days and what that cost, what you ate. And you see, there's nothing that says something else might not come along. And if you want to get a nice little view over what COVID-19 is, which is SARS-CoV-2, with some further mutations along the line, and SARS-CoV-1 came along 20 years ago. Just imagine some little aliens that need to take over human bodies so they can replicate, since they can't breathe. So we don't have any natural defenses to them. And there are so many of them, and it's gotten so widespread that they've mutated into some other variants that we don't really have a defense for. So we have some things we have to do, and I don't care whether you like putting on a mask or not. It's just due proof. And if you want to see what it looks like, get some pictures from 102 years ago when they had the 1918-1919 flu epidemic, which was called the Spanish flu, but actually it originated in Kansas, USA, and they even know who Patient Zero was. He was a cook for an army base, and he wound up dying of natural causes in 1956. Now, if you see those pictures, you see people all over America walking around with masks on.
Yes.
And that was 100-some years ago. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that one of the big problems is that a lot of people who are raising the worst fuss are those same people who, when they were 9, 10, 8, 7, 12 years old, started crying and shrieking when the nurses brought out the needle to give the shot.
Yes.
Well, I remember vaguely, that was a long time ago, but I don't remember crying, squeaking, and squealing. But basically, I've never been one of those crying, squeaking, and squealing, all that. I've never been the scary type of boy and child growing up. But Judge, let me ask you, these animals that you were talking about were hard to kill. You have any idea as to why they were so hard to kill, Judge?
Well, let's put it this way. You know Reverend Bill Atkins?
Yes.
He's a hunter. He likes to go over there on a safari.
Yes.
He's got a big 460 Weatherby Magnum, and if you talk to him, that's probably one of the most powerful guns you can buy anywhere on the planet commercially.
Wow.
And he's talking about what it took to take down a couple that he's killed. With he and the professional hunter trying to kill the things. They have been known to have their hearts completely destroyed. And they're a one-ton animal with a bad attitude.
Yes.
And they can still keep going for a minute and a half. Now you just add up 90 seconds of something trying to stomp you into jelly. And there are reports where somebody taking big elephant rifles and putting 8, 9, 10, 12 bullets in, completely destroying the thing, and it's still jacking up some people.
Okay. And how does that relate to, or how does that, I guess, help us with our research in terms of survival of any plague or disease, Judge?
Well, it says two things, including the subject of the call-in about the security guard.
Yes.
lot of our people who live in southern Africa like to eat imbogo because apparently they make good steaks.
Yes, I remember you saying that a little while ago. Continue.
I am personally acquainted with the heir to the Swaziland or Zulu throne and his brother. And they're going to take over from Dad when Dad abdicates after they get their doctorate degrees. And one of them will have to either get a spear or a sword. The other one will take the remaining weapon, and the two of them will have to kill the Cape Buffalo all by themselves. If anything happens to one of them, the other one gets done in. So nobody can plan an abdication or somebody taking over who shouldn't. They've already killed their lions at 13. But you understand that we are the animal on the planet that likes to eat those things.
Yes. Well, by the way, Judge, the difference between humans and these animals we're talking about, the latter tends to operate, well, not tend to, always operate, unless they're not hungry, operate by instinct.
But no, we all operate by instinct.
So what now?
Have you ever trained any hunting dogs?
When I was a young boy growing up, but what I was going to say is that as humans, we have the ability, we have intelligence, we have the ability to think and plan. We all, you get my point?
Yeah, but here's where I'm going with that. I'm not disagreeing with you. There is instinct. But out of all the planets, predatory animals on the planet, we are the apex predator.
Yes.
We kill better than anything. And dogs fight, lions fight, tigers fight, panthers fight, leopards fight, eagles fight, wolves fight, bear fight, everything fight.
Yes.
And that doesn't exclude us. Now, one of the things that I am getting a little perturbed about is looking at all of this uproar over, I hate to call it this, but generic homicide that are just characteristic of the human animal. Now, as a defense lawyer, I tried 42 capital murder cases. All right? I didn't settle anything like some in the news do. I tried them.
Yeah. Okay.
Big difference.
There's a hell of a lot of difference.
Yes.
I got the youngest person on death row in the whole world off death row with a stay of execution 23 minutes before he was be executed. He had been 15 for 2 weeks. That was Ronald Ward in West Memphis, Arkansas.
Yes. Right.
By then Governor Bill Clinton and the Arkansas Supreme Court. Now, I'll also say this. I lost track of the murder cases I tried as a judge. And one of the things that you have to understand is that the hype that you hear from the news media, especially in the day's time where they try to make something out of nothing, or they want you to tune in and buy their commercials.
Exactly.
There are so many cases I can remember. Well, I'll give you an anecdote. The commercial appeal in 13.5 and 3 were raising all this hell about this man needed to be on death row and everything, and the jury is deliberating, and the families in the courtroom, the press and the reporters are there, and the jury had a question. They were just hanging on every word, wanting to write down. You know what the jury's question was?
What was it?
Your Honor, if we feel that the victim deserved killing, but we have to convict the defendant. In other words, the press was saying if anybody deserves a death penalty, this is it. And the jury listened to it and said the victim needed killing.
Repeat that, Judge.
In other words, the press is playing this thing from
Yes.
like 28, 29 years ago. And the press was playing, this man needs to be on death row. This is a horrible murder. This man needs to be convicted. But when the jury was deliberating, their question was if they felt that the victim needed to die, they have to convict the defendant. In other words, Your Honor, we feel that the victim deserved killing.
Right. Hey, Judge, I've got a couple more questions. I'm going to turn it over to Omar and Tyler.
And one other thing, too. there is a distinction, I want to make this, between police and government action and private action.
Okay,
It is not the same.
okay,
So
right.
when we start getting all up in arms, watch out for these clowns that are coming into Memphis trying to get a showpiece for them, because
Good.
Memphis has not broken up and broken out into anything.
Yes,
They come
and you-
here and trying to inflame the situation
right.
to get some kind of myth so they can make a little bit more money.
I understand.
And them
Good.
laid behind like a certain reverend who likes chicken.
Yeah, good point, Judge, because I said watch out for some other elements, and you're bringing that in to watch out for that element as well. But real quick, Judge, because we need to hear from Omar and Taluk. Now, I think you mentioned adaptation. I think Taluk, maybe it was Taluk who mentioned adaptation, which in my mind is very important. We covered that extensively at Southwest Community College. Then the last two questions, herd immunity and research. I think I hear that as a possible answer to my question, how do we survive? Adaptation, herd immunity, and research, Judge. Real quick, before I turn it over to our panelists. Go ahead,
The
sir.
problem with herd immunity is you have to have a restriction of the spread of the disease so it doesn't have too many opportunities to mutate, because if it mutates quickly, there can be no buildup of herd immunity, because what was developed as an immunity to the original disease no longer exists in a few months. That's why you have to have multiple flu shots every year.
Is that how we stop it? The way in which we stop it, Judge?
We may, look, the problem is we may not be able to stop it.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Adaptation, Judge. I'm moving quickly.
We may adapt to it, and there are people who may handle the disease better than others.
Okay.
But there is this thing called decimation of the human population, and we have gotten awful attached to our relatives, friends, neighbors, and associates. So we don't want any of our close ones to die.
Right. And I pointed out that we should come out with, along with Omar, come up with our own method of research in the process of surviving this and other diseases. Research, Judge, and you have some background.
We published peer-reviewed papers.
Yes.
You can Google them
Yeah.
and look under peer review. They publish them. They're supposed to detail what the shortcomings are, what the strengths are, what got revealed, what needs to be developed.
Yeah.
Forget this stuff you get from the news media. It's
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah,
Educate yourself.
Peer review, you're absolutely right. Now, Judge, we're going to turn it over to Omar and then Taluk, and let's go around and around the table. Go ahead, Omar.
Let me just say one thing that I heard Pearl say earlier when she mentioned about people who were listed as victims of COVID-19 on their death record.
Yes.
It was back here during the summer last year, around 10 o'clock at night. My wife and I were in the kitchen trying to clean up for the end of the day, and one of my members from NACA called me. She works at Methodist Hospital. Her job is to prepare bodies who have people who have passed away. And she told me she was talking real quiet. She said every one of the bodies I've touched today, they got COVID-19 on here, although they didn't come here for COVID and they had no signs and symptoms of COVID, but they got them listed as victims, death, cause of death, COVID-19. And she said, I think it's because they get paid more money when they show they died from COVID-19.
Yeah.
But it kind of alarmed her, so she was trying to get my view on it. And I was surprised when she said it. But then, and I think that may be, part of that may be very true, because COVID-19 is the moneymaker in this medical, in this hospital and medical field. So I just want to get that out the way. Yeah, I agree with Pearl. Some of it is probably not COVID-19, but it's labeled that way. The other thing I wanted to look at was, I'm not a meteor. And I know a lot of people, I guess everybody in the room is, except I don't eat anything with 4 legs on it.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I didn't want to upset nobody.
That's okay.
I'm thinking about my future, so think about yours.
Right.
Absolutely.
We need to change what we eat anyway.
Exactly.
When I take my physical at Christ Community Health Services, at the top of the page, it said the #1 killer of Americans is the food we eat. And then it names the food we eat. Hot dogs, hamburgers. It names things that we eat every day we think is okay. But they're telling you, when you get your physical, quit eating these foods. And when I went to take I had to take an exam for my eyes because I had cataract surgery back here on Thursday. Same thing. Right before I had the surgery, the doctor said, make sure you do these things right here for the rest of your life. A handful of blueberries every morning before you walk out the door. But I eat healthy anyway, and they couldn't find no health issues with me because when they gave me the physical, everything was straight, no nothing. But again, she said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, keep doing, and do these things right here on this list, because at age 73, something should be wrong with you, but you don't have anything wrong with you. But again, the food we eat is what's killing us more than COVID-19.
All right.
More than any disease that the white man could invent or that nature could invent. We got to watch what we eat, and we got to make sure, I don't care how good it tastes. If you got some doodle in it, it ain't worth it. You put chocolate and whipped cream on it, it's still doodle when you get through with it. It's going to kill you, it's going to take you out of here, throw it away, and go back to the natural path. And eating animals is not necessarily the natural path. Because if that animal had diseases like Judge Joe Brown was talking about, I don't know if these animals got disease in it. If they took the animal out here, it'll take me out too. If he's a tough buffalo, and I ain't no buffalo, I don't weigh a ton. If he can take a ton of meat out, he'll take this 150 pounds of meat out too. So please, listening audience, watch what you eat from this day forward. The black community suffers greatly from health issues, but it's because of the food we eat.
Yep.
Talib.
Thank you. Dr. Omar is exactly right. And primarily, the meat that is killing most of our people today, African American people, is pork.
Yes.
Hog flesh.
Yes.
And I remember in the movie Roots, and it's one thing that, of all that movie, one thing just jumps out and just sticks with me, and this is the truth. When Kunta Kinte was offered pork, the African boy, straight from Africa.
Yes, yes, yes.
He rejected it.
Yes, yes, yes.
And he kept rejecting it. And they kept trying to force him to eat that pork. People of Africa didn't eat pork.
Correct.
Our ancestors
Correct.
did not eat pork.
Correct.
So how do we get to start eating pork? Master. Whatever master does, the captives replicate it, duplicate it.
Yes.
And whatever master told our ancestors, we have held on to it for 300 years.
Yes, sir.
That's how powerful
Yes, sir.
master is.
Yes, sir.
Master is equivalent to God
Yes, sir.
and more powerful than God
Yes, sir.
in our African American lives. Because we have never rejected a single thing that Master has taught us. Nothing. Point out anything. Look, eating with steel, doing things like this, doing things like this, thinking like this, thinking like that. Have we rejected anything as a people? Nothing. We have accepted everything that these people have taught us and told us, and we've never rejected a single thing as a people. That's how powerful Master is. So Master took this swine flesh, and found that it's cheap, extremely cheap to feed the slaves and captives with, extremely. And they would come into the shanty town of our people and wagon loads of stuff from the swine. And they would kick the barrels off the wagons into the dirt. And our people would huddle around the organs and all these things because they were primarily starving. Okay, basically, they were starving. But you are not starving today. You're not starving today. You don't have to eat that stuff. My mama raised me on this stuff. And you're going to tell me that it's not good for me? When you learn better, do better.
Yes, right.
Okay? So the point is this. Master also gave us alcohol, drugs. We cannot resist them. Look, I was leaving home one day, and I saw these young people, and they were sitting around one morning, right before school, smoking marijuana, smoking dope. And as I move through the city, I see more smoking dope and more drinking of alcohol. And so you go through the city all day, from morning to night, and you see this devastating habit that we've taken upon ourselves because of Master. And so when a disease strikes, and you are of a certain age, and you have done these things practically a half of a lifetime or a whole lifetime, you just a bed, a nice, warm, moist body for that disease to multiply over and over and over, really rapid. I'm talking about like in minutes sometime, in hours sometime.
Yeah.
Those diseases would have taken over your whole body because your body actually has no resistance to it. It has a very weak immune system. It can't fight it because of what? Bad food, alcohol and drugs, and other crazy lifestyle. One more thing. You have a right in America, and this is one of the greatest rights we have and that we need to constantly fight for. We have a right to make up our own minds about things.
Thank you.
Okay? Now, if you don't want to take the vaccine, fine. I mean, that's good. That's a good thing. That's your human right to not take the vaccine. Okay? And no one should be criticizing anybody because they make this decision and talking down on somebody because they decide they're not going to take the vaccine. Because the bottom line is, it's either life or death. Okay? You remember the Dr. Death, that guy back in the day who was assisting in
Yeah.
people's death?
Yeah, suicide.
Yeah, that
Assisted
guy.
suicide.
Yeah, that was the first example of your right to die. You know, it's your right. So people who don't want to do the necessary thing, not just vaccine, not just they just don't do they just don't think in terms of doing the thing that help them prolong their lives, like eating bad food and drinking of alcohol and this kind of stuff. They just don't care about that, and smoking cigarettes that they know they're gonna, science say you're gonna die if you do this, but they don't care. I'm gonna do it and gotta die from something. But the point is, those people have a right to have that position that they have. That's why I said some of us gonna survive, others of us are gonna die. It's just that simple. It's a decision. You have to make that decision, and you have a right to make that decision without other people criticizing and talking down on you because you don't. As the judge said, the herd immunity thing may not even work for us now. So it's not necessary for us to get to that point in order for us to survive as a people. So let's respect each other's right. If a person wants to die, let them die.
Okay, I want to go back to the judge. Judge, are you still with us?
I'm still with you. I'm still with you.
I've got two questions. I don't know if you heard earlier we talk about peer review, but are you familiar with this news outlet lifestyle? But here's a couple of things right here, Judge. People taking these dangerous doses of ivermectin, used for, and they're taking it for COVID-19, but it's the same. They take it for horses and cows and all that stuff, and they're pooping out worms, but they want to claim that it's probably vegetables. Makes no sense. The other thing is this, Judge. An unvaccinated teacher spread COVID-19 to 50% of students in her classroom after she took her mask off to read. Go ahead, Judge. Take it away.
Well, we also had, unfortunately, 2 Shelby County teachers who died of COVID-19 this last month. So
Heard about it?
we have to take that into consideration. I don't know why people don't get it, that they can't be polite and do the equivalent of covering their mouth
Yes, sir.
when they're around other people and
Yes, sir.
sneeze or cough or blow their noses.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And everybody in the world can wear a mask, except around here we get all bent out of shape about getting all up in arms and want to get mad and fight about somebody asking you to please be polite enough to try and protect others by wearing a mask.
Yes.
Okay,
Hey, you're right.
Okay, this other thing too is we need to get people understanding something about expertise and experience. Have you ever run into somebody that can cite all of the statistics on who's got what percentage from the floor for NBA or receiving as a wide receiver in
Yes.
the NFL or Major League Baseball batting statistics?
Yes.
Well, there are people who do stuff that's more meaning, and they have those statistics down because that's what they do 9 to 5.
Yes.
And they do this year in, year out. So show them a little respect and try and figure out why they have certain opinions on certain things that you may differ from, and all you have heard is some character on YouTube talk about something.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody says something because it dovetails in with you wanting to take the easy way. Now, on top of that, I would like to add that some of our youth need to have ambitions to be research scientists, to be biologists, to get into the medical profession, and they will have a better opportunity and a greater chance of succeeding that way than playing in the NBA or the NFL or Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, absolutely.
we need to start having some of our youth start saying, I want to be a scientist.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I want to learn business enterprise and get a master's of business administration
Beautiful.
so I can make money after I figure out what I'm going to do that will have the equivalent of a new .com revolution.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
So we can get in on the ground floor.
Yes.
Because having land is going to do nothing if you talk about a separate country, because nobody's going to give it to you. I can assure you of that, reparations otherwise.
Mhm.
And if you don't have means to defend it, you won't hold it long.
Right.
And you need to do something where you can call the shots on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to start making our scientists, our doctors, our professionals, our new heroes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
There's nothing better than knowledge to advance your cause.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
That said, let's push these youth into doing something other than sitting around smoking dope.
Come on.
And I
Come on.
say, okay, all right, it's nice not to get you locked up, even though in Shelby County they give out some of the stiffest sentences in America for simple possession of marijuana. But we don't need to get high. We're too damn lazy, lackadaisical, and not paying attention as it is. And like you said, Brother Red, I've seen that too. Drive around and see all these smoke. They passing around a joint. That's COVID-19, and they're passing the joint around. Come on.
Yes.
And you are on the job because it's during the work time during the day, and you're sitting up smoking a joint. What the hell is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm. Couple more questions, Judge. We still have 5 minutes left. We've got a long time. 5 minutes. Man, I can fly an airplane back in here in 5 minutes. But listen, should this be a part of the Man Up campaign? And is this something that we're going to be pushing when you become mayor of this city?
Yes, it is something I'm going to be pushing. Man has to be a hunter, a warrior, a farmer, an artisan. He has to know how to handle his environment, to manipulate his world. He has to study it. He has to learn it. He has to perfect what he does to deal with it and be able to pass it on.
Mm-hmm.
All of this nonsense that they're talking about, we got to stop the gun violence. If you want to stop gun violence, start raising these boys like men at home.
Yes.
And if you don't know how, find out who does.
Come on.
These sissified little boys running around who get 20 years old, 18, 17, 15 years old, and don't have a bit of manhood in them. If you're doing a man thing, you're too busy focusing on how you take care of your business to start acting a damn fool.
I
Understand. All of this isn't, we have enough black on black killings to be worrying about what we're going to do about this man thing. White folk do it, Asian folk do it, Native American folk do it, African folk do it. It's a human trait. We need to work on it, focus, and start dealing with things that we need to come together on. Maybe if we did that, we wouldn't have so much time to go around acting damn fools because we had too much time on our hands.
Well, what I see in the feminization of young African-American men, Judge, and what's so sad about it, in the absence of fathers and fatherhood and all that, what's so sad about it, being around, not trying to put women down, young boys being around women like that with no men in their lives, that some of these young boys actually become afraid to relate to grown men. And I've seen that in my lifetime. I see it every day. And these women are not aware that they are feminizing these young men. And so, like you just said, Judge, find out how to go somewhere or do something to offset these weaknesses and etc. You know, Judge, one time I said our young man precious as gold, and you had an antithesis to it. Antithesis, I'm sorry. What was that, Judge? I meant to ask you. What was it?
Say it again.
You know, I was, I guess 2 or 3 weeks ago, talking about the problem that we face with our young African-American boys, and I said they're more precious than gold, and you said, how about this, instead of precious than gold?
I said, how about they could be worth more than gold, not precious as gold. That sounds like an ornament.
Could be like an ornament.
I was sitting in someplace the other day, well, several weeks
Worth
ago.
more than gold.
I
Go ahead,
was in a place some work weeks ago, and some women were angry that some men were talking about requiring boys to man up and take care of difficult matters. They said the boys should be allowed to enjoy themselves. No, they should be happy to be able to find out how to prepare themselves to do what was necessary to become men.
Absolutely.
Not about having fun. They need to have fun. No, that's not what this is. That's recreation. You need to take care of business.
Right. Well, Judge, we're about out of time. Why don't we take this up next week? I think the music is going to start playing in just a second. But let's go around the table. Omar, final thought.
Final thought.
Yes.
In the past 30 days, I've attended 2 funerals, my nephew and my son-in-law. Neither one had insurance. I want you today to call 901-230-5048. If you got health problems, it won't matter. If you're in the best of health, it won't matter. Best Solutions Insurance can get you hooked up.
And are you still helping people get into their own homes?
7 days a week. I'm going through a tour of programs after I lead a radio show here.
All right, 7 days a week. Talu, final thought. Hold on, Judge. Final thought, Talu.
Final thought is for today, respect.
Okay. Final thought, final word. Judge.
Get your stuff together.
All right. Judge said get your stuff together. Hey, we thank everyone for tuning in to the Love Power Show.
Yes.
Tune in next week as we continue with relevant issues of the community. We thank you very much.
Yes.
Go Love Power.
Joe Craig. Mr. Walton. Yes, sir. Come here. So, brother.
Thank you.
Hey, brother, peace and blessings, brother.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, too.
And ladies and gentlemen, for the past hour and a half, you've been tuned to the Love Power Show. Wallace Red, Omar Baruti, Talu Alamin, Dan the Man, also Chris Walton sitting in with guest panelist Joshua Brown. Be sure to tune in next Sunday beginning at 10 o'clock a.m. right here on AM 1600 WMQM, Lakeland, Memphis. Coming away next, we have none other than